Thank you, and thank you, Jane and the Hand Weavers Guild for doing all of this. It's pretty wonderful. I'm going to be scattered here a second, so.
Is that good?
Nobody can see. I actually am thinking as I was pulling this presentation together that I had to channel Linda, but the not so great part, or maybe great part about channeling Linda was I had piles of things everywhere strewn throughout the house, and that I'm afraid is becoming part of my life as well. So, at least I can find things. Old stuff. I keep stuff, drawers of it, boxes, notebooks, sacks, trunks. The habit runs in my family. Not long ago, my mother, after doing a bit of house cleaning, sent me my World War II ration book, good for a pair of baby shoes and a pound of beef. When Jane Patrick reminded me recently that this issue marks Handwoven's 10th anniversary, I got to rummaging around. I found lists, an empty book full of ideas for a new magazine, compiled in the fall of 1978 on a plane en route to the first state conference of the Arizona Federation of Spinners and Weavers. My 1979 daytimer with daily and weekly agendas of things to do as the new magazine took shape, including this cryptic and still useful memo, find missing items. The guest list for the party we threw when the first Handwoven came off press, and at which I got embarrassingly tipsy. I found letters, wonderful letters from weavers who loved the new magazine. Painful letters from weavers who thought it was a terrible idea. Our first inquiry about an error in the instructions: is the total thread count of the linen placemat warp supposed to be 210 instead of 21? I found old photographs, photos of my 4-year-old and his teddy bear wrapped in a hand-woven afghan. He's 5'10" now and pats me on the head. Photos of an irrepressible model in splendid hand-woven raiment and a werewolf mask. Photos taken while tiptoeing through cow flocks in Bill and Louise Green's pasture, climbing on rocks in a mountain park, trying to camouflage unfortunate threading errors with taste and discretion. I found swatches, yarn bits, correspondence, notes of phone conversations, memories. Things have changed so much, and yet they're still the same. I still felt like a kid then in a lot of ways, wondering what I'd do when I grew up. Today, I look in the mirror through my bifocals and note the laws of gravity and conservation of matter, and still wonder, at least a little. We were a staff of 3 then, working in one room, mostly on the floor. Today, we are 23, surrounded by computers and copy machines and fancy phones, still working on the floor. We put out 47 issues and have the process down cold, but we still worry about whether anyone will like them and fall all over ourselves when a beautiful piece of weaving comes through the door. This morning, as Joe Coca and I worked on photographs for this issue of Handwoven, arranging and rearranging and laughing at all the old stuff I had hauled to his studio, he asked, 10 years ago, is this how you thought it would be? His question stopped me cold. The fact is, I didn't think at all. Just didn't think. Handwoven didn't come from special vision or careful planning. It came from hundreds of weavers contributing to it, from thousands of hours of staff effort, from hundreds of advertisers and tens of thousands of readers supporting it every day for 10 years. Words are weak. thank for all the stuff. Okay, this was one of many of Linda's unravelings that she wrote in handwoven over the years. And it was compiled, they were compiled into a little book that we presented to Linda a number of years ago called This Is How I Go When I Go Like This. And her weavings and spinnings as a metaphor for life. And I've read through those many times, one, putting it together, and two, preparing for today. And this was the photo that accompanied that unraveling the old stuff that Joe Coca took. One of the things that I think the result of the electronic age, there's not as much of that old stuff hanging around. So I had to dig back into the hard copy memories of things. But I also realized that I came to know Interweave and Linda through her writing, through the columns that she wrote in handwoven and spin-off, and through the now the blogs that she contributes to and other writings when she has time to do that. This was the first issue of Interweave in 1975. And some of what you'll see today you may not be familiar with, but this is where it started. Interweave Mountains, Plains, Fibercrafts. Linda had quit her day job as a high school English teacher because she needed to be at home after the birth of her third child. And never one to be idle, she took the little she saved in her teacher's pension and invested it in a combination of two things: her longtime love of the printed word and her personal interest in handlooming. So this is where Interweave was born. And she sent the little magazine out to as many people as she could find who might be interested in the regional fiber guilds, her friends, to small little weaving companies who were all launching businesses about that same time. So this then was the next magazine in 1977. And it started as an annual journal. In 1982, it actually became a quarterly publication. Linda had what was called Ligon's laws, and she shared them in different ways over the years, many times at company meetings or through her company memos. And the very first one is, what you give comes back. So when she sent this little magazine out to as many people as she could find who'd be interested in it, people started sending her money, and they started subscribing. So she kept on publishing and asking people to pass the magazine on. So it didn't take long to extend her personal interest into hand spinning as well. And then, as the spinning community were taking hold, I'm going to sort of intersperse some other little pictures of Linda at that time of Interweave startup and her felting. Not sure when, you might know when this was, but you were felting something, it might have been at a store, I'm not sure. But with the growing magazines, Linda started hiring people to help with mail, ad sales, circulation, shipping. And a few of those people are still at Interweave today, or certainly still working in parts of Interweave's publications. But Linda's family eventually reached a limit on how many people were coming in and out of their home at different hours of the day. And so it was time to move the business out of the house and into an old Victorian home in downtown Loveland. This is 306 Washington. So that brings me to law number 2. Work expands to fill the space. So since there was now space, it was time to start another magazine. Interweave, the magazine, had grown, but it needed to change to really thrive. The hand-weaving community was asking for recipes for projects to make stuff. So the new magazine, Handwoven, was launched in 1979, the same year of the move into the new office. And in 1981, Interweave magazine rolled into Handwoven magazine. But the name Interweave stuck, and it became the name of the press. In 1990, Interweave moved again. I think, Linda, is that Elizabeth next to you, or it's Day next to you at the linotype machine? So in 1990, Interweave moved again to its current home. Whoops. Oh, there's some more pictures. Those are pictures from SOAR. Sorry, there's Dale, who's here with us today. And there's Linda and Sharon Alterveld and Karen Evanson and somebody we couldn't name. And there's another picture from SOAR, 1980. So Deb Robeson, and Dale and Linda. Okay, there's Linda. So work expanded to fill the space into its current home. It's a historic building in downtown Loveland. And it continued to fill this space, and presently it not only fills this space, but a space across the street, a space next door, offices in New York, Philadelphia, Boston, and many home workers. So the next Linda's law, number 3, is focus on your customer and know your readership to the bone. So the product of the magazines is not the publication itself, but the audience of the readers. And the more narrowly focused the subject matter, the more captivated the readers. So for Linda, it was a short step from producing the magazine to producing books. The first book came in 1979. I'm going to insert a little story from Deb Robeson here, because she said, you probably know the story about how I ended up as editor of Spin-Off. I've been at Interweave for a year as the book editor. There's a pattern of book editors being called on to do other jobs, and then new book editors being hired, although I was the first person with the title of a book editor. I arrived in fall 1986. And this was fall 1987. Anyway, Linda knew that I loved Spin-Off and had been in love with the magazine since the very first issue. She told me that she had this circulation goal for the magazine, intended to stop publishing it if that couldn't be achieved, and asked if I wanted to take it on. In addition, of course, to the full-time book editing I was already doing. That wasn't an it'll be easy situation, although there were plenty of those, but an let's add something to your already full load that you are so passionate about that you won't say no. So yeah, I did. My first issue was spring 1988, and we made it circulation goal and well beyond that. Over the following years, including the increasing page count by more than double. I also was the book editor for a number of years, but then that slacked off, although I never did quit working on books as well.